Today we have invited three heavyweight guests coming from three angles to talk about something which is very relevant to us. That is our cities. The first question I'd like to ask Mr. Cao. Last year, right here, Vice President of CISCO introduced to us that CISCO was ready to help India to create 100 smart cities to fulfill the Indian Prime Minister ambition. So CISCO may be one of the companies who has authority to talk about this. So my question is for Mr. Cao. Maybe you can tell us from a simple question how we can define smart city for China, for India, for people, everyone living in the city. If city becomes smarter, what kind of benefit can we get from it? Mr. Cao, thank you very much. Good afternoon. Talking about smart cities, I think all of you may have different perspectives, but from CISCO's perspective, the smart city we define is that number one, through a sustainable development solutions, and then relying on information, telecommunication equipment and tools in the cities to adopt some of the data from the cities and from the general public to make full use of the values of the data so as we could improve our efficiency and to lower our cost. And at the end of the day, to increase the well-being of the citizens, to put it in a nutshell. So that is our definition about smart city. You mentioned the ultimate benefit, I believe, which is linked with the ultimate format and operation method of the smart cities. I think different cities or different countries or governments may have different definitions of perception and goals. Thank you very much. The next question for Victor. You have two hats. Number one, you're the frontier technology investor. Also, you're the CEO of a startup company of smart city. Do you agree with Mr. Cao's definition? I think Mr. Cao talked about it in a very correct way, but different places and the different circumstances, definition of smart city may be different. Decades ago, when the concept of smart city was raised, today's day, a lot of changes happen to the definition, along with each country's economic environment changing, political environment, culture, infrastructure build-up, technical level, varying from each other. So different stages may exist. China has a high and new tech zone 30 years ago in China, but right now we still have those zones, but with different definitions. In China, as I said, smart city actually changed several times. Before that, during the 3G generation, basically smart city is focused on internet to solve the efficiency of the government administration. But now we are entering the 5G Internet of Things era. Data and intelligence and smart decision making are very important, redefining the system of the smart city, offline, online data fusing with each other. So this is something China is leading the world without any doubt. So I agree with Mr. Cao's definition, but I think it has a richer definition actually. As Mr. Cao put it, the underlying infrastructure, which is very good. From a government perspective, Mr. Chang, do you agree with the Chang, Mr. Chang? What do you think?
我想我不一定能代表。
I'm not in a position to represent the whole government, but you can see that the other two guests themselves also have divergent views on this issue. When it comes to smart city, the concept of smart city is still building up. And today, you can see many people who say they come from the field of smart city. We in the Olympic Organizing Committee also meet people from the sector of smart city, but we have come to find that actually they are working in different sectors. So as the Olympic Organizing Committee and the city administrator, we think about whether we connect all the traffic lights, then our city will become a smart city, or we have some energy conservation of a building, then we can make as many buildings as possible, then our city will become a smart city. So scenario is always dependent on human settlement areas. So for settlement, for traffic, for infrastructure, and for safety, usually they can be divided into the above mentioned areas. When it comes to the Olympic Games, we believe that Olympic scenario is a kind of typical city scenario. So when it comes to the Olympic Games, it is reported that from the Barcelona Olympic Games in 1992 to the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games, it is found that with good urban planning, rich diverse heritage would be will be left to the host cities. So when the Beijing hosts the Winter Olympic Games in 2022, cloud technology, big data, and artificial intelligence will be commercially viable. So it is stipulated that is it possible that the 2022 Olympic Games will be a very technologically advanced Olympic Games. So we are very happy to have these. So by 2022, we have high expectation that the Winter Olympic Games in Beijing will be equally exciting than the Beijing Olympic Games in summer in 2008. And last time we presented to the world the Chinese culture. And now we are in a crucial moment when advanced technologies are getting mature. So many people may ask that how these advanced technologies can be applied. We are still exploring the scenarios where these advanced technologies are most suitable. So by 2022, we will have a great opportunity because there are about 2.5 years to go. The Winter Olympic Games will be opened in February 2022, the fourth day of the Chinese New Year in 2022. So at that time, we will have a new navigational system, and we expect that the navigational technology at that time will reach quite a high level. I wish to share with you that technology is always closely associated with Olympic Games. We want to fully represent the splendidness of Olympic Games. In each Olympic Games, you can see the maturity and advanced application of some technologies. So what are the pain points in our organizing work? Let me tell you some. For example, in February 2022, 5G technology will be commercially rolled out because 5G mobile phones are already available today. So the challenge now is that for the stadium, we have 90,000 seats. So it is expected that there will be 100,000 people. So I think it's a good question for our colleague from CISCO. So for 100,000 people use 5G technology, mobile phones at the same time, that will be a huge challenge for communication. So that will be an area for research. So Mr. Chao, do you think technology then will be capable of handling such huge amounts of communication? So it is dependent on the number of base stations installed in the bird's nest stadium. So technologically, maybe it is already viable. It is capable of handling such intensive communication. But we need to install enough number of base stations. I'm confident about that. So technologically, it is viable, according to Mr. Cao. So today we are thinking about, in the past, we had a technology, we just showcase this technology and our capability, that's enough. But nowadays, in addition to showcase this technology, we want to find also a business model, as mentioned by Mr. Cao. So if we cannot find an appropriate business model, maybe it is not a good idea to be applied in the Olympic scenario. For example, is it possible for 100,000 people to go through the security check without any touch? So this will significantly shorten the time for our visitors to go through the security check. And there are two venues for the Winter Olympic Games. One is in Beijing, the other is in the neighboring Zhang, connected by high-speed railway. Is it possible to have autonomous driving between our two areas? So we have high expectation on that. So thank you, Mr. Chang, for revealing such a secret to us. We hope that with such advanced technological application, we can see this scenario come true. Please allow me to add one more word about the role of technology and the the Olympic Games. And last month, I attended athletic games in Doha, the first time for Doha to host such a grand event. And yesterday, the senior UAE officials also visited our company to explore the possibility of our company's participation in the 2021 World Cup, Soccer World Cup. So we are working together with the UAE in running sport events with our technological support. So as mentioned by our moderator, after each big sport event, and usually this big sport event will deliver a strong boost to technological advancement. So it is technological viable, so it will be commercially rolled out after the games. So please rest assured that these advanced technologies will be used well, and with widespread usage, the cost for such technology will be lowered and lowered. So for the communication of 100,000 people at the same time, I believe that we have enough, Terminus technologies, so I believe that it is viable. So in his company, you can see the showroom of Terminus technologies, and you will see how you park your cars, for example, underground. So Mr. I, how can what we see in the showroom be really realized in our daily life? We have been talking about what will happen in the next few years. For example, new advanced technologies, new trends. We believe that we would better to focus on what will not change in the next decade. So what will not remain unchanged in China and in the world in the next 10 years? So maybe the Internet of Things will connect everything in our city, and everything will be data-based. So based on this understanding in our products and in our services, we focus on that. We believe that smart cities will have 4 stages. The first is driven by hardware. For example, when you watch a Xiaomi television or a Xiaomi hardware, that will be the first stage. In the second stage, that is about solution to traffic issues, to environmental issues, to agriculture issues. You need tailor-made solutions for different sectors. So it will help the government and the business community in resolving a specific issue. The third stage will be a solution for the whole city. That will be a package solution to the whole city. So data will not be concentrated in silos. There will be a packaged solution for the operation of the whole city. Now, many Chinese large cities, they are centralizing data from different government departments. So that is the third stage and what we are working on. So we are actually not only in China, but also other international cities are also doing that. In the fourth and the last stage, when all smart cities are converging, and there will be a network of smart cities, Tokyo, Doha, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and Wuhan, Shanghai in China. These smart cities can be connected, networked. So that is our vision. So thank you, Mr. I believe that you have taken the perspective of an investor. So coming back to the physical world, my challenge I would like to challenge Mr. Cao, because recently it is reported that India is going to build 100 smart cities at the foot of the Himalaya mountain, and one city is listed as the 100 smart cities. For example, India they have installed about 70 dustbins with about 70 million US dollars. So they're very expensive. So the waste disposal capacity of the city remains unchanged. So these smart dustbins have collected a lot of waste, but this waste cannot be disposed after collection, and it will have a spillover effect upon other cities nearby with their collected garbage. So what do you think of the theoretical and reality application? So as a serious CTO of a tech company, our responsibility is to take a rational approach. So for your challenges, Mr. I envisaged quite a few scenarios. So we keep challenging this, and we would like to make a breakthrough one after another. So for your question, I think for tech preachers, we need to find the direction of technology, and in light of the local environment, how to find a sustained solution. So for practice, how should we apply a technology in a real scenario of a smart city? So that is my understanding of theory and practice. So you just now shared with a good, I think that's an interesting idea you share with me, because we are talking about an application scenario, and we also have data in the middle, and we also have a back office. So the operations at three different levels, they are interacting with each other. So we have some data analysis, then we will come to understand what improvement we should made. So this kind of a smart network driven by intention. So we need to further promote smart cities. So thank you, Mr. I. And on the level of data, because Barcelona once hosted a 4-day-long carnival participated by millions of people. After a carnival was held, a big data company looked into the carnival and they analyzed the credit card of those consumers. And they found that French visitors used to stay in tents, and the British visitors rarely spent, according to the analysis on their credit cards in the carnival. So there are insights, but there are also a privacy issue. For example, a lamp post can know how many selfie pictures you took. So how can we ensure the boundary of privacy in the future? Please, I'd like to start with this. Let me start first. Because when it comes to data security, I think CISCO is always very much committed to data privacy. That is an important part of our responsibility. Traditionally, we talk about data confidentiality, data integrity, for example. Now, in the era of big data, artificial intelligence, and cloud computing, we believe that the boundary of data security has been expanded. For example, data integrity, data privacy, and for companies, they also want to have data privacy. So how should we utilize this data to promote urban development, at the same time to ensure data privacy? In our algorithm, how should we not discriminate some people and groups? So on the algorithm level, we should not pursue a discriminatory approach. But the current practice, actually, the discrimination is there. So this is very important on the policy level, on the legal level, as well as on the ethical level. We should pay close attention to it. Last question for you, Mr. Chang. In the last decade, in the last century, television was very important, even for the U.S. presidential election. But in the new era, and how do you think that the sport will be changed or entertainment will be changed in this century? Now we are going to have a quantum leap in terms of sport and entertainment industry. And at the very beginning, we needed to go to the sports stadium to watch sport games, and then we watch sport games on television, and you can even see athletes sweating. And now I think things have begun to change again. One is IP development, and another thing is that very high resolution television. And we are closely following the latest trends in the previous Olympic Games in Korea and Japan, for example. So we hope that the Olympic Games in Beijing will be more interactive. So thank you, Mr. Chang, for your information. We hope that with the strong support from the government, with the active participation of the business and the other communities, our city will be more livable. Thank you.